And we're live.
Hi.
Hey, folks, Gerry Gibbs, and of course, you know my wife,
Keisha.
Keisha. Right? We've been married for 2 years.
More like 10.
10. Okay,
Yeah, 10.
wow. All right.
10. Hi, everybody. Hope you're all well.
We want to say thanks to Gail Boyd for having us. I guess.
Yes, thank you, Gail.
It's exciting to be here. If anybody has any questions coming at any point, feel free to. I can barely see the screen, but my younger wife, Keisha, she sees the screen real good. So anyways, my name is Gerry Gibbs. For those that don't know me, I'm a jazz drummer. And I've been playing drums for 53 years. I'm the son of Terry Gibbs. How embarrassing.
That's not embarrassing. You just turned 97 yesterday.
Oh, that's
awesome.
true. That's right. He is considered one of the greatest jazz vibraphonists of all time. That's true.
He is.
Okay, that's true. Yeah. Anyways, and I've been a jazz musician my whole life. I live in New York, and anyways, I'm here to talk about the latest, which is my new album. I guess I can throw this up right here. It's called Gerry Gibbs Songs from My Father. And as you can see, it's coming up on the screen right now. It features Chick Corea and Ron Carter as one of my trios. Kenny Barron and Buster Williams as one of my trios. Patrice Rushen and Larry Goldings as one of my trios. And Jeff Keezer and Christian McBride as one of my trios. And there will be some live performances that will be coming maybe to a town near you at some point, as things are being worked on right now by management. And so we're excited about that. It was a very long story how the record was told. And of course, I wanted my wife Keisha here with me because it might sound fake.
But it isn't.
It was not.
You.
It
a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Worth it.
15,000 miles of driving because of COVID. And then, of course, 14 nights sleeping in the car with Keisha.
Which wasn't bad.
Watching Starsky and Hutch, Beretta, Mannix, and Mod Squad, the old ones, the old versions on videotape. We would sit in the back seat with our food and at some rest stop in the dark, and we'd watch TV.
And listening to lots of Les Baxter.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It keeps me relaxed. And some Sammy Davis and Dean Martin, too.
For sure.
Anyway, so basically what happened was during COVID, I've been with this record label, Whaling City Sound, for the last, going back to 96 when I recorded my first album, which was my big band album for them. I've been with 4 different labels. I started off with Quincy Jones's Quest recording label, recorded for Robbie Coltrane's recording label, and then I recorded for an independent label called SMS Jazz, which SMS Jazz, which actually all those records still exist. You can get them anywhere. And then I joined Whaling City Sound back in about 2005. I'm losing track here. But anyways, so my latest album, it wasn't really even supposed to happen. What happened was I was getting ready to record another record, I believe maybe my 10th record for Whaling City. And I had been recording different things. My Thrasher Dream Trio, which featured Ron Carter and Kenny Barron. We did 3 albums, and some of them had guests. One of them was live. We had Cassandra Wilson and Roy Hargrove and Larry Goldings and Warren Wolf and Steve Wilson. Anyway, so during that time, we were still doing things, but I had started a new trio, which I called Thrasher People. And there were 4 of us. We played about 40 instruments between the 3 of us. And that was kind of more of a non-jazz record. We did one jazz record, then one that might have been more kind of progressive rock and kind of movie picture-ish, because I do a lot of writing for film and stuff. So, and there were 4 of us that could actually literally play 40 instruments. So that was what that was. And we did an album dedicated to the musical Weather Report, along with my original music. Then I did one that was like a big movie soundtrack, and everybody brought every single instrument they played into the studio, and we spent about 2 weeks tracking. And that's called Our People. Then it was time to record again, and COVID started, and it was this new thing. My wife works at the Blue Note in New York City, and I just travel and play music for a living. And so basically, within like the second or third week, we were locked in our apartment, and I believe we did this.
We actually did. We were on the
Gail
show.
Boyd's show here
At the time, talking about what it was like surviving through COVID.
Right. That's right. Yeah, it was very early on. And so at that time, because we were locked in, and the record label had said, we're going to have to put everything on hold maybe this year because this thing could go on all year. So I was sitting in the apartment every day, and I'm kind of like a workaholic. So I have a recording studio in half of my place. So I called the record label and I said, would you mind if I went ahead and recorded a one-man band record where I play acoustic and electric basses, keyboards, piano, sang, drums, percussion, everything. So for about 18 days, every single day I wrote a tune and I would track like 14, 15 hours.
It was from morning to night, literally.
Keisha would bring my food in. She's so sweet. Never got irritated once.
No, it was great. It was a good creative outlet when you're locked up in your apartment when there's a pandemic going on. And if you're going to be locked up in your apartment, you might as well be doing something creative.
Of course, sometimes I get out of bed at 3 or 4 in the morning to go back in. I was just obsessed with it.
Yeah, that's true.
And I called the record label and I said, I won't sell it because I'm under contract with the label, but I will, I'll just give it away for free. Won't charge anybody. And I'll just maybe send it to like 500 people on my email list. Keisha came up with a great title and we called it Emotional Pandemic. And it was like kind of like film score music mixed with some jazz and fusion and different types of things. And so basically at that point, I sent it out to like 500 people on my email list, and Chick Corea happened to be on that email list, and we knew each other, but not musically. Of course, I grew up, as a Chick Corea fanatic, like every single musician on the planet does. And of course, I didn't even get some of my friends after about 2 weeks still hadn't listened to it yet. And then all of a sudden I get this email from Chick, and I called Keisha. I said, come here, look at this. And it said, Gerry, this is Chick. I got your music and I've listened to it numerous times and I'm really fascinated by the process. I'd like to call you and talk to you about your writing process and your tracking process and, how you put it together. So I sent him my phone number, and within an hour, I couldn't believe it. The phone rang and I look at my phone and it says Florida on it. And I know he lives there, so I'm thinking, man, that was fast. If that's him, and I answered the phone, and it was Chick, and I don't know, we spoke for about 2 hours.
Yeah, you guys had a really nice conversation.
Really long, and he talked about we should get together and do something together. Do you? I'd like to hear more of your writing. And I was working on these solo piano pieces that I create with videos of dancers and different things. And so we talked for about 2 hours, and he didn't say anything in particular, but he said we should try, when COVID gets better, come to Florida, and why don't we maybe work on something together for maybe next year. Of course, it was semi-vague, but anyways, so basically we talked again. He called me again a few days later because I had sent him a bunch of solo piano music. And then he called me and he said, yeah, why don't you think about taking these solo piano pieces and extending them for a trio and send me the music and let's talk some more. And I just threw it out. It was one of those things where it's kind of like, he's on the phone and, and I said, hey, Chick, I said, would you play on my upcoming album, which of course was put on hold. I had nothing really set yet. And he said, yeah, I'll play on it. But I'll tell you what, I'll do 4 tunes. Then I said, all right. Of course, I had nothing really planned yet. And I said, well, the only thing is I need to find out if the record label can afford you. So I would need your people to be in touch with the label. And that's when Chick said, oh, no. I'm just going to do this. We're going to do something together and I'll play on your record. And that's all, just you can get down to Florida with whatever you want to do. And I thought, man, this is unbelievable. So I called the record label up, Neil Weiss, who's became a really good friend over the years because I've been recording for him. And
Jenny tuned in, by the way.
Huh?
Jenny Shea.
Oh, Jenny Shea.
She tuned in. Hey,
Jenny Shea from Whaling City Sound.
And there's some other Facebook users that are out there. If you give the site permission to use your name, we'll know exactly who's leaving the messages for us. So that would be great.
I don't think they do. Look at that one. Gerry, you're the worst drummer ever. Gerry, it's the worst album I ever heard. What else?
Although I don't see that.
Gerry, you look funny.
Maybe you shouldn't be the one reading. I should continue to read.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. But anyways, so I called Neil Weiss at the record label and I told him, I said, Chick's willing to play on it and he's just willing to do it. And he said, well, what do you have in mind? How can we do it? I mean, COVID and everything. And so I said, man, I don't know, but let me think about it. And I called him back with my idea about an hour later. And in that conversation, I said, let me just see what I can do, who I can get on the phone. And my idea was to take my Thrasher Dream Trio and create actually five of them. One of them, because of COVID and things, it's a long story, but it was a long travel, and COVID ended up making it impossible because, breakouts and things that were happening. And we tried it another time, and it just, again, depending on where I was in America and what was available to happen. So basically, I got on Keisha and I went for a walk, rather, in our area in Astoria, and there was nobody on the street. It was like in the daytime, and there was nobody, but we had our masks on, and I had everybody's number on my phone. So I called Ron Carter. He's like, Gerry, if it's safe and we can figure out a way to do it, cool. And I called Kenny Barron, and he answered the phone. It's COVID. Nobody's anywhere. Everybody's at home. I called Kenny Barron. He answers the phone. I called Buster Williams. He answers the phone. I call Patrice Rushen. She answers the phone. I call Larry Goldings. He answers the phone. Christian McBride and Jeff Keyser. Everybody answers the phone. And the other two that were not able to be on it also. And everybody said, if there's some way that we can do it, and everybody had a different type of set of standards that they needed for COVID safety and what studios, because we were going to have to use many different studios, because I was going to have to drive everywhere to do it, because nobody was getting on a plane. Everybody was afraid, including us.
Yeah.
So basically at that point, it was just a long getting on the phone, talking to the studios, talking to the musicians, going back and forth. Sometimes we'd have a date set, and it would get canceled because the studio would have to shut down, or in one case somebody got it. But anyway, so at that point I realized, I have a tendency, all musicians write music and they want to record their own music. If you're going to have all these guys, that's what you want to do. You want to record your own music. But at that point I realized I write music that needs like 20 hours of rehearsing. Ask Kenny Barron. He'll tell you.
Poor Kenny. Kenny doesn't want to see any pages.
He doesn't want to see my music.
Like, that's too much.
But he learns it. He practices it like crazy. He tells me I give him a stroke, and then he shows up and he kills it. But anyways, that's another story. Always amazing. But anyway, so basically at that point, I thought, I don't want to go and record a bunch of standards to make it easy. That's nearly not my thing. Even though I write and I arrange, I didn't even want to arrange standards. And I thought, well, it has to be something then that means something to me. I have all these great bands, these all-star bands, and I wanted to do something that would mean something to me. So in the back of my mind, I thought, okay, here's one guy's music that I grew up, that I've been listening to since I was a kid. And I know about 300 of his songs, because he's written 300 and I know them all. And then I was talking to Keisha and I said, I don't think I'm going to write music for this. And she said, hey, why don't you do so-and-so's music? Because so-and-so's music we listen to it all the time. I mean, you know every one of those songs, and you love his music. And I was like, you know what? I was thinking about that. Then I called Mark Rini from Groove Marketing, who's a longtime friend. I worked with Neil Sapper for the longest, who got me 4 #1 records in a row. And did an amazing job. But I have this very close relationship for 25 years with Mark Rini from Groove Marketing. Neil worked for the record label. Mark did not. And, Mark being one of the best of all time in the business, I called him and I said, hey, Mark, I got this album I'm going to make. And I listed all the names of everybody. And he was like, first of all of them on one record, and they're all going to do it. And I said, yeah. And then he said, how? And I said, that part I got to figure out. And then he said, what music are you going to do? And just as I was getting ready to say what I had in mind, he goes, hey, man, you know what? He interrupted me, and he just cut me off. He goes, man, this would be a perfect time, and you should do the music of your dad. And I always talk on my phone's always here, and I always keep it on the speaker because I can't hear it like this. So I always have it like this. And Keisha started laughing, and that was the omen. I was thinking it.
That was my thoughts.
Yeah. Within an hour of me thinking it, Keisha said it. And then 5 minutes after she said it, I called Mark, and Mark said it. He just said it. I didn't even tell him what it was going to be. And so at that point, the next day, we got in the car.
Yeah.
We drove to Long Island, to the end of Long Island, to Orient Point, and there was no traffic, nobody on the road. And we spent about 4 hours in the car, Keisha with the iPod, clicking one song after the next. And I said, that one. What's the name of that one again? I knew all the melodies, but I never remember the titles. And she said, okay, write that one down. So I did that. And at the end, I had 19 songs. And I said, man, this is, when you grow up listening to that music over and over and over, it's actually almost kind of like it's your music, because you've listened to it so much. I think the only other person's music that really had that much of an impact on me was McCoy Tyner's music. Mm-hmm. My pops always wrote these melodies. If a lot of them were just based on riffs, they could have been things that Ramsey Lewis played. People like Cannonball Adderley, George Shearing, why am I blanking? Nat King Cole. They've recorded his music before. And he writes these very infectious type of melodies that if they're more involved, they sound like soundtracks. They're very easy to remember. They're very easy to sing.
They're catchy.
Yeah. And some of them that are maybe more bebop oriented that have a lot of notes in them, they just have a vibe to them. So even if you can't sing it, something in the way, the mode of the notes for a non-music listener can kind of hum along to it. And so basically I decided to do that, and I thought, well, I'm going to surprise him. I'm not even going to tell Pops, and I'm going to do it. But then the first thing is I called Chick, and I told Chick, because he was the only one that had anything of my music. I said, Chick, forget about everything we talked about and anything that I've sent to you. I'm going to change course. I'm going to do my dad's music. So it'll be easier. My dad's music is the perfect vehicles for the greatest improvisers on the planet to just do what they do and solo. And the melodies are infectious, and it was really perfect for it. I would have wrote these songs. I would have went on for like, 14 hours, and then it would have ended up being like an hour of solos and about 3 hours of my compositions. So Chick was like, that's an incredible idea. This is a perfect thing. I haven't seen your dad in 40 something years. And man, this would be great. Let me write a tune for him. Of course, you're not going to tell Chick no. So I was like, okay, so I guess it'll be all of his tunes and one Chick tune. So Chick sent it to me within like 2 days. He sent it to me, and I said, what do you think? And I said, that's great. So at that point, I realized Pop's music, most of it wasn't on paper and it wasn't available. I was able to get my hands on a lot of it, but I realized a lot of it, I was hoping he would have it in his storage room. So I called him and spilled the beans and was like, hey, I am going to record a new record, and I'm going to record your tunes. And do you have them? So I don't have to transcribe them all. And he only had about half of them. So half of them had to be transcribed. And at that point, it was time to set everything up. And I will say one thing about Keisha.
What's that?
She's we have been married now for 10 years.
Just about 10.
Yeah, we've never had a fight or an argument.
No, other than right side, left side. That's it.
Who sits on what's
those aren't fights. Those are just like, I'm used to sitting on
Gail
that
heard that though.
Yeah, but
that's only because when we watch TV, this is the side I'm on. So, and I'm watching myself. So,
but no fight.
We've never had an argument or anything. And so, in the end, to make all this happen, Florida, Los Angeles, New York, and then we had a middle ground in Texas because we had a friend that had a cabin right on a river. And of course, nobody was touring. We weren't doing anything. So in between recording, sometimes we would just go to the river for a few weeks and hang out, and I would listen to what I did and what the music was, because we would be kind of in rough mix form. And I'd get the music sent to the next place. We would just plan. So during the recording, we were living in New York, we were living in Texas, we were living in Los Angeles, in and out of Florida. And traveling with what do you call it? Like a little U-Haul behind us, because I needed to bring my drums and all my recording equipment with me, because I engineered some of the stuff like with Chick and stuff like that. So basically at that point, I sent the music to everybody, and sometimes the date would get canceled. We'd say, well, let's try again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And, and we would just be all over the place. So we had to make an extended stay in LA. We had to at one point to do it. And so anyways, long story short, which this is a pretty long story. I basically took about I guess, 5 months, and we were in the car, and as we were driving across country, we had to go to California twice because the one session got canceled and it had to be redone, and so we had to regroup, and it wasn't going to happen overnight. And I don't live in Los Angeles, and so we had to go back and then do it again. But we made 10 trips across country.
Yeah, and I think once you've made those kinds of trips, first of all, we love on our spare time just to get in the car and just drive and just see where we end up. So for us, being in the car is never an issue, and Gerry's like a very easy person to travel with because he's fun to travel with. He's silly, and we get to listen to a lot of fun music. Yeah, it's true. And also, it's like, for me, this project was really important because Pops means the world to me.
That's her best friend.
He's amazing, and he's
more of her best friend than I am.
And his energy and just everything that comes along with it, and his music. And as many times as we had been in the car listening to a bunch of his different records at different times, and Razor being one of my favorites, the fact that Gerry had decided to do this, it meant a lot because it's like, I wanted his dad to hear him play his music. I'm like, what a great way to like honor your dad by playing songs of his music, and to have these wonderful musicians.
Yeah, but has he done a record of my music?
He doesn't have to. He's your dad. But just to have these amazing musicians who were more than gracious, and they're just the sweetest people to be a part of this project, meant so much to the both of us. And also, I feel really honored because a lot of people don't know this, but I actually got a chance to play percussion.
Oh, and I better play percussion on the record. And I'm not like
tooting my horn, but I played percussion on a couple of Gerry's records, and I've also sang on several of his records. But this record is a really amazing record.
Actually, I did let her play vibes on it, but she's terrible, so I had to erase the tracks. I'm
not even going to attempt to
why.
pretend like I know how to play the vibe. Well, I wouldn't. That's for your dad. I leave that to your dad.
There was one interesting thing at the very end I wanted to do. This was going to be the thing, is to try to record, have every single person on the record be on one song. And at that point, we were talking every week for about 5 months or so. Right?
Yeah.
About 5-6 months. And sometimes I remember one time he called me at 3:00 in the morning. We were watching TV we were still awake, and the phone rings. I'm going like, hey, look, it's Chick. He must have butt dialed. There's no way that he's calling one.
And I'm like, really?
Yeah. And I answer, and he goes, guess who? I said, is it Liberace? And he goes, you're close. And I couldn't believe he's calling me at 3 a.m. because he wanted to talk about a piece of music that I had sent to him. And so there was this thing happening that was really exciting. But then I didn't hear from him for about a week or two, and I had sent him a message, and he said, I'll have to get back to you about the final tune with everybody on it. And everybody, all playing like part of the tune. We're going to have all 5 piano players and all 3 bass players and myself. And Chick had sent me a message and said, I hurt myself. I had hurt my ribs. And basically I can't play right now. We have to wait. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to postpone this part of it. And I let the record label know, could we move the record forward for the release, for the finished date and everything? And they said, okay. And then I got a call from his manager 2 weeks later that he was gone. And that was like the big shock. It was like unbelievable. And I have all these phone messages that I saved to his. And sometimes he would send me files of music he wanted me to put some drums to and send it back. So I have all those things. And I just kind of sit in there kind of in a daze. And I said, well, I'm going to record this last tune. And what I thought was, I called Pops up and I said, hey, Pops, I still want to do the tune called Hey Jim that everybody was going to play on. But what about if we dedicate it to Chick? And he had been thinking about that too. He said, well, you should do something to dedicate it to Chick, because this was the very last recording Chick ever played on, the very last one. I know this because he told me, his management had told me, last studio thing he had done. And so basically at that point, Pop said, let's call the tune Hey Chick. And I said, cool. Now, my dad is retired. He doesn't play the vibes anymore, so I couldn't get him involved. But the tune Hey Jim, what I did is I structured it so the tempo was exactly the same as the original record from 1961. That was you were born.
No.
What year were you born?
73.
Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't realize I was married to a baby. Anyways.
Not quite.
Well, younger than I am.
A little bit.
That's embarrassing.
Just a little
I
bit. Just a little bit.
I want to say you were older than me. Next time, go along with it.
All right.
So anyway, so basically, at that point, I took his recording and I extracted his vibe solo, and I had Larry Goldings and myself play along with the vibes and the original vibes, original bass and original piano comping. And I had Larry put some organ on top of it. And then it went from my dad's solo with his band, with Larry and I. First, it went from the melody with Jeff Keyser and Ron Carter to my dad's solo with his original rhythm section from 1961 with Larry Goldings and myself, to Larry Goldings playing organ solo with Ron Carter on bass, to Kenny Barron and Buster Williams together, to Patrice Rushen on piano and Larry on organ, Larry Goldings back on organ, to Christian McBride and Jeff Keyser taking a solo. And then I take a drum solo with 8 bars of Ron Carter walking, 8 bars of Buster Williams walking, 8 bars of Larry Goldings playing a little funky groove, and Christian McBride, 8 bars of walking. And then the song ends with Jeff Keyser and Christian McBride. And that's called Hey Chick, which now is dedicated to Chick Corea, my dad's tune. So it was a pretty exciting experience. We did everything. This is the CD. I have to say that Whaling City Sound, they have an art guy there that really is one of the baddest dudes around. He is really something. I told him I kind of threw it out, a simple cover with just the names and kind of almost like an ECM record cover. And this is what he came up with. And it was amazing right from the beginning. As you can see, it's got a picture of me and my son.
Although that's your dad.
Me and my dad. Sorry. And
yeah, but you got to show
then
me
this
the
one here.
favorite
This is the
one in
embarrassing
middle.
one.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, that's my dad. Who's the kid?
That would be you.
Oh, that's me. Doesn't look like me.
But, well, that's because you're a baby.
This guy looks like me over here. Anyways, so if you haven't gotten it, please. It's called Gerry Gibbs Thrasher Dream Trio's Song from My Father. It's a take on songs for my father, because these are all songs from him. And if anybody's interested in the Emotional Pandemic recording, you can send a message and put your email address, and I'll send you the one-man band recording. Actually, I have another one that I'm just finishing right now. It's what I do on my spare time. I make these recordings. I do them for my little internet label. It has nothing to do with Whaling City Sound. And I play all the instruments, and it's a good outlet, as Keisha will tell you.
It is.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
And
we appreciate everybody that tuned in and that has supported this record.
was there any questions? Let me see.
No, there wasn't any questions. There were just really lovely comments.
Not that
Love
comment.
hearing this story again that you told me on the phone.
Jerry, your
Bradley
drumming.
Stone.
Yeah, Jerry, your drumming wasn't.
Jerry, no one wrote anything about your drumming.
Wait, right here. Jerry, you're the greatest drummer I've ever heard in my life. That's not what it says?
No one said that.
It didn't say that?
No.
Oh, well, hold on. Jerry, you sure look handsome on video. If
No
you ever
one said
become
that
single
either.
again, no?
No one said that either. You're making up stuff. But if there is any questions, we can take a question or two. But we do appreciate you all tuning in, and people continue to tune in.
We only had one story to tell. That was just what we've been doing during COVID. But I have great management now with Eli went out and from Green Door Management, and she's booking some great things that are going to be happening later on in the year. And I want to thank Mark Greeny, who worked the radio for this.
Yes, thank you,
and
Mark.
Lydia Liebman, who did all the publicity.
And all the musicians.
And if you're a Grammy voter, you can keep us in mind, I guess, maybe.
And if you haven't gotten the record,
and we were
please
number
check
one.
it out. It's a great record.
And I do want to say we were number one for 4 weeks on the radio until this morning when Joey DiFrancesco took over as number one. I want you to call Joey on the phone, and I want you to tell him I need to talk to him.
All right, I'll make sure.
Oh, yeah, Joey, if you're listening, you're now number one. I'm going to take over next week. That's not true. That's not true.
You still have a chance.
That's over. I had my run. Okay. But anyways, so thank you to my longtime friend, Gail Boyd.
Yes, Gail. Thank you for having us on the show.
Back when I was on Quincy Jones's label, Gail used to do management stuff for me all the time. And so we go way
Hey, Jerry,
back.
you're the greatest drummer.
That's not what it... Oh, it did say that.
Yeah.
You see?
Okay.
It doesn't say who said it. I told you somebody thought I was. Somebody thought I was good. No, Mike knows better. He knows I'm terrible. He knows the real truth.
Well, I know you and Mike go back and
Yeah.
forth. So
Well, it's 4:30. I guess we're supposed to be off the air.
We're getting ready to tune off. So everybody stay safe. Remember, there still is a pandemic that's out there.
That's true.
And keep yourself safe.
Yeah.
And we love you all.
Yeah. And this is Gerry Gibbs. And of course, my
Keisha Gibbs.
Keisha. I do that all the time.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anyways, thank you for having us, Gail. And much love to everybody.
Thank you, Gail.
And don't forget to get the new record. And look for us in a town near you. Eli's booking all kinds of stuff. So we'll be there soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, Pops. He's listening.